sports bikes, commuters, adventure bikes, sports tourers, A2 friendlies, middleweight nakeds. Most bikes these days will fit into one of these categories, but there are a select few, a rare breed of bike, which are pretty hard to categorize. They kind of exist in the grey areas. And for the bike behind me, it takes those shades of grey and makes them a little bit darker. So the CB1000R Black Edition, Honda's naked Neo Sports Cafe Roadster, was released back in 2018 and updated for Euro 5 in 2021, and it also had some refined fuel injection, some added tech and some styling tweaks. Now, I was actually very close to buying one of these bikes before I got my MT-09. I love the fact that the engine derived from the awesome 2004 Fireblade, and I mean, everyone at some point probably wants to ride a bike with a Fireblade engine in, don't they? Is that just me? 998 cc's inline 4, producing about 143 brake horsepower at 10,500 RPM and 77 pounds-foot of torque at 8,250 RPM. But what I've actually found by riding this bike before this review is the torque really starts to kick in at about 6,000 RPM. Up front, we have fully adjustable shower, separate function, big piston forks, and a shower at the rear, which is adjustable for rebound damping and spring preload. There is oodles of stopping power from these big chunky forepots biting down on 310mm dual front discs, and there's a single disc at the rear. The CB1000R Black Edition gets an up and down quick shifter as standard. The CB also receives a shiny new 5-inch TFT display. It also comes with Bluetooth connectivity for Android phones, allowing you to handle calls and navigation. And ultimately, one of the reasons I considered this bike is the looks. Aesthetically, I love the looks. The teardrop updated headlight with the orbital daytime running light. You've got the rear seat cowl. You've got these black accents with the CB logo just etched into all of the metalwork and all the subtle points there. You've got these awesome new updated wheels on the Black Edition, plus the single-sided swing arm. The CB1000R from Honda is a smart, solid-looking machine, a futuristic spin on a classic design, and it's got just enough technology to tick the boxes, including riding modes, customizable power, engine braking, and traction control, and it's all yours for just under £13,000. But is it worth it? How does it ride? How does it stack up against the competition? So, quick ergonomics check then. I am 5'8" tall, and the seat height on the CB1000R is 830mm, which is quite a standard, seat height for a performance bike such as this. At 5'8" tall, I can get pretty much both feet, the balls of my feet, on the floor. The bike weighs in at about 213 kilograms, so it is quite a chunky, solid-feeling machine. But at the same time, the profile of the bike, the profile of the CB is actually quite slim. It's a big old litre engine beneath us, but it's quite a narrow bike. It's not as big and as stocky as those big litre nakeds used to be, so this is quite a small, compact machine. And we're away. This is actually the first dry day in pretty much a week. I've been riding the CB for about over a week now, every day, commuting to the office, going to work, and pretty much every day has been rain and wind. So this is the first dry day. I'm actually quite excited. It is a bit cold. It's only about 8 degrees Celsius here, so still a bit on the nippy side, but it's dry, and that's fantastic. So ergonomically sitting on the CB, one thing that does take you by surprise really is how kind of sporty focused the bike is. The pegs are quite high, and I think they're even higher than my MT-09 SP. So your knees are a little bit kind of higher up than I thought they would be, and the bars are quite narrow and a little bit lower as well. On the MT-09 it's a very upright riding position, with the bars are quite wide. It's a very commanding riding position, but with the CB there is absolutely a bit of a sporty focus to this riding position on the CB, which is great. You know, this just gives you an inkling as to what the bike is all about. There is that derived Fireblade engine beneath us, so why shouldn't this bike have a sporty edge to it? Obviously, looking ahead, we have this new 5-inch TFT dash, which was new introduced back in 2021, replacing the old analog clocks. The display is very clear, everything's very crisp, there's not too much animations going on, not too much to distract you. I personally prefer this, you know, layout and the cleanliness of this screen. There is quite a few modern motorbikes, especially more high-end bikes, you know, plus £10,000, that have very elaborate graphics on the screen and gradients of colour and animations going on, and it looks great. You know, it's great, you know, that they can do that now. But for me, I do prefer crisp, clean. You can also customise what you see and change the display from light to dark mode as well. I've not really fooled about with the display, to be honest. I've been more interested and more concerned about riding, especially in the bad weather we've been having. But I do know that you can customise this to your heart's content. And with the Black Edition, you do get Bluetooth installed ready for your Android phones. It won't work with iOS iPhones, unfortunately, but you can connect your Android phone and have calls, music and navigation and all that shebang. Big revometer there, speedo, the mode that you're in. I've currently got my main beam headlamps on there, but there's quite a lot of information there. You've got your trip, average fuel consumption. I do notice that the little fuel gauge here does tend to go down rather quickly. Maybe that's me, you know, revving the engine and working it a little bit and having some fun with it. But I think in theory, with the 16, just over 16 litre fuel tank, you should be able to get about between 160 to maybe 180, 90 miles on a full tank. So also included on the Black Edition is the up and down quick shifter on my left boot. I have to go on record to say it's probably one of the best quick shifters that I've experienced. It's I'm going to compare it to my MT-09 because obviously that's my base, that's my go-to bike every day, most days, my MT-09. And the MT-09 from Yamaha is a very, how should I say, it's a very clunky gear change. So if I was to coin a musical term, it's very staccato. So on my MT-09, you can feel things clunking on, off, engaging the gear, putting it back on again. It's a rather clunky affair, but I actually like that. It's quite a nice feeling to feel the bike kind of working, and you can feel the gear change happen, and it gives quite a nice kind of crisp effect when you're going up and down the gearbox. Compare that to this CB, and it's like all of those edges in the gear change sequence have a lovely polished part to it. It's not rapid, it's not clunky, it's just so smooth. It really is. Even under hard acceleration, hard deceleration, there is a lovely smooth edge to all of the aspects of the gear change. It really is very impressive what they've done, and the feeling through the boot is fantastic. You can feel what's going on as you're changing gear. It is very confidence inspiring, but it really is confidence inspiring. It's not perfect. I've been going up at gears, and sometimes the gear lever will just kind of go a bit kind of, shall we say, loose. It won't engage gear, and the gear selector number on the display there kind of just goes blank. And I find I usually have to close the throttle for the gear to engage, and then I carry on in the sequence. So it's not absolutely perfect, and I know a lot of people will attest to say, oh, Hondas are, you know, they can be quite bland because they're so perfect. Well, this is not perfect bike, and I'll be going through a couple of other things that I've noticed whilst riding this bike over the past week. So we're currently in rain mode. I'm going to drop this into standard mode. Let's just press this big user mode button here on the left thumb. Standard mode. The bike obviously comes with 4 riding modes, 3 standards. You've got rain, standard and sport, and then finally a user customizable mode where you can
fine-tune the engine power, the engine braking, and the level of traction control on the bike. So it's really quite a tunable experience on the CB. It can really go even in rain mode. Now I've not put it into sport mode. We'll see how we go today, but like I said, it is quite cold and the ground is quite cold. I don't want to tempt fate just yet. I might wait for a warmer day. But you can just kind of hear that soundtrack just as we approach 6,000 RPM, the rasp of that engine, that Fireblade-esque rasp. Just reminding you of where this engine derives from. Let me bring ourselves to a nice steady stop there. The brakes on the bike are awesome. They are really progressive. They've not got a rapid bite like Brembo's, which obviously some people prefer, but these are very strong, progressive. Again, like the other aspects of this machine, very smooth. There's no initial it's all just very calm, collected, and okay, we're braking, and it's really powerful and good. I've been using the back brake a lot, obviously riding in the rain, just controlling, you know, corner speed, etc. And that's quite a nice feeling. And it really does have a thunderous tone, especially when you start this thing up in the morning. When the engine's cold, it fires up. It really does have a thunderous tone. And I've had to have a few glances around to the neighbours to make sure I'm not you know, upsetting anyone. Now you might see me just bouncing around a little bit there. This is a very bouncy bit of road. But I'm going to get onto the handling shortly, because I think that is a huge aspect to this bike. Obviously it is. It's a huge aspect on any bike. But it really does kind of underline what the draw of the CB1000R is all about, and that's the handling. So yes, you've got this wonderful engine, amazing gearbox going on. You've got some quite straightforward electronics. There is traction control. It's not lean sensitive like quite a lot of its competitors, but we'll get to that. But the handling, yeah, the handling is very, how should we say, it's a very smooth, slightly soft handling experience. And there's mud all over the road. Oh, goodness me. But there's a smooth and softness to the handling. But that really does give you an indication as to what the bike is all about. Yes, it does have all the power, but there is a softness to it. There is a comfort to it. It's probably one of the most comfortable kind of sport road bikes I've ever ridden. So what this all translates to is a road bike that is stacked with power. I mean, yes, it's not got the Supernaked levels that we're used to seeing nowadays, 200 plus brake horsepower on your Super Dukes and your Ducati Street Fighters, your Speed Triple 1200s. But, you know, 143 brake is plenty enough, I think, for most of us. Oh, pheasant. It just seems to, it flicks from side to side very easily, but there's a real nice softness to it. But if you start correcting like I just did then in that corner, you can feel the chassis, you can feel the bike kind of adjusting. You know, it's not got that kind of firmness. You wouldn't really feel the bike moving around on some of the other bikes I've ridden. So it might not be as agile making mid-corner corrections like other bikes. But on the whole,